Hello, you're listening to Otaku Spirit Animecast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo.
Today's episode is, I just kind of went into the usual intro, and it's not really a fun intro, but it is what it is. But yes, for anybody that somehow has missed the news, because I think it's pretty much taken over social media for, was it the 4th that it was announced? It was Friday, wasn't it? I think it was Friday night.
I really don't know the date in which it happened. I just know that
he did die on March 1st.
I just know the controversy that kind of blew up around it, and that's how I ended up finding out about it.
There's a controversy around it. Okay, you're gonna have to fill me in. We might keep that towards a later part because I want to be more positive about this. But Chris, going right into the controversial stuff. I did want to eventually talk about it because it's just kind of one of those stinker things that you do have to talk about. But yes, Akira Toriyama unfortunately has passed away. He actually passed away on the 1st, but they kind of kept things under wraps so that the family can mourn and do the funeral and everything like that, keep it, to themselves. And then finally, I think I first caught it when somebody pointed me to that it actually happened. It was trending on Twitter. And then I found the post by their studios announcing that, yes, he had unfortunately passed away. And then after that, it just it blew up. Like literally, I know I'm already getting into this bigger picture of things, but it is a true testament to the significance of Akira Toriyama because literally everybody is having to make a comment. I mean, they had I think presidents are literally making comments about it. So that kind of tells you something. I mean, literally every single big name mangaka, artist, everybody's shooken up about this because it's just literally, unfortunately, out of nowhere. I know that there's been some comments being made now by certain groups that, yes, there was a knowledge of him having something removed, then had the whole issue with the actual, was it like a bleeding in the brain or whatever that actually happened that, unfortunately, he passed away from. But it's a shock because it's unfortunately typical that in most cases like this, it's kind of out of nowhere. But it's one of those things where until it happened, I didn't realize just how significant the man is. It's one of those cases where you don't always think about a certain artist or mangaka or just a creator in general until that actually happens. And then you start to really kind of think of holy crap, this person was pivotal in my life. So many things that this guy touched that was literally my childhood for the longest time was my childhood. I mean, I here recently watched through Super, and me and our other brother, we rewatched through pretty much the entire Dragon Ball Z franchise and GT. But it wasn't until, it's something that's kind of been put to the wayside for me personally, but still so much significance in my life.
I would say he's one of those that is just kind of like a fundamental rock that's off to the side.
Yeah.
While he's not in the forefront, I would say
ingredient.
Yeah, I would say similar to Kubo Tite. They're just like there, or Ghibli's Miyazaki. He's there. You don't really think about what is he doing. He's doing something, but he's just there. They're just mainstays that you just know are in the industry you're aware of. You may not be following everything he does. I know that he, in particular, the two main things that I know of is he was involved with Dragon Quest, and he was involved with Dragon Ball. I know that he's done other things, but those are the two main things that I know for a fact. If you go and look at anything Dragon Quest, you're going to see his artwork. Anything Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball anywhere in that universe his artwork's there. He's just there.
Well, that was a funny thing because that was one of the things I wanted to get into was our experience with him. It's literally, yeah, I would assume the very first case is going to be knowing exactly what the work is. For sure, it's Dragon Ball,
right?
Dragon Ball Z specifically. I don't think I watched Dragon Ball until afterwards. My first introduction for him was Dragon Ball Z. That was, I think, most people's introduction because didn't they take a while before they did Dragon Ball? I don't think they did Dragon Ball initially. I think they went straight to Z. Didn't they?
There was some one of the Dragon Balls, one of the original Dragon Ball was out there, and then he went into Dragon Ball Z, and then he started dipping back into the Dragon Ball.
No, what I mean is broadcast in the West. I know for sure he did Dragon Ball first. That's a given. He went from Dr. Slump into Dragon Ball. But for over here, anime wise, I thought that they went straight to Z.
You might be right. That I don't know.
I just know that I don't think I've seen Dragon Ball until later. And it was interesting because if I remember correctly, watched Dragon Ball Z for a while, and then suddenly I seen Dragon Ball, and I was like, oh, this is like literally his like past story. It's like one of those things where it's kind of like the whole it's like the whole Final Fantasy thing. It's like, wait, there's a 7? What happened? What happened to Final Fantasy 5 and 6 and all that other stuff? 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's like one of those situations where we get this version first, and then that version comes out. And I'm pretty, like I said, I'm sure they probably had Dragon Ball before, but again, that was my first introduction. But going back to what I was talking about earlier is, like, that was the introduction. And it's like, holy crap, this Dragon Ball in specific was like this incredible insight into something I've never experienced before. It was like an ongoing story. It was this massive saga with so many freaking characters, and it kept going. And every episode is like, stay tuned. It's like, what? Stay tuned? It's supposed to be like episodic, like everything else. One of those first experiences of a cartoon. That was our mindset back then. It was a cartoon, an animated series that was not episodic. And literally every episode would open up with telling you what happened before. And you're like, wow, it tells you what happened beforehand. But yeah, it was like that happened, which was huge. And that was a huge part of my love of anime at the time. And it wasn't until like, I thought that was pretty much it. The only other thing that really jumped out at me was like, I don't even know how long it took, but like we played Chrono Trigger, specifically Chrono Trigger. We played Dragon Quest. Dragon Warrior. Was it Dragon Warrior over here? We played Dragon Warrior. We played Dragon Quest. And it wasn't, I want to say it wasn't until way later that finally it clicked for me like, oh, that's the art. That's his art. It's one of those, because I mean, the game itself, you couldn't really see it. I mean, yeah, Chrono Trigger for sure. You can see the spiky hair and stuff like that.
Well, it was like Chrono Trigger was the one that
the box was like, oh, that's him. He made those characters crazy.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger in particular, I didn't put that together with him. It wasn't until I think Dragon Quest was the one that kind of started putting things together for me, because
it was like a later Dragon Quest.
They were announcing the original art from him, and it was like, oh, and then suddenly it starts clicking all the artworks, and then you kind of just go
exactly. I agree. It's like suddenly out of nowhere, it's like click. Whoa. Oh, so that's him too. That's him too. And it's like the age of internet search. Holy crap! All this stuff. He just touched all this stuff. There was even that other one. There was that game that I think was on the Xbox. It was one of the RPGs. One of the few RPGs that was on the Xbox was his art as well. Dragon something else. And yeah, that was another one where it's like, oh, that's him again. Holy crap! This guy is just. He had such a unique art style.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing is, and we can get into this now, but I did want to touch a little bit on his life. I don't want to like break down like his entire living life or anything, but there was a couple things when I was looking through like Wikipedias and stuff like that, looking into him. I honestly, again, this is one of those cases where I never really looked into him. I'm not like a super fan, even though I love his work so much. It's not like I eat and breathe him. Plus, he's technically one of those very few. You can find it in a lot of articles. It's hard to find a picture of him. It's hard to find really anything on him because he was a very private person. This is a guy that didn't get on stages all the time. He was a guy that just wanted to keep his life private. And that's why he never really went out much. I think somebody wrote that he doesn't even have a cell phone. This is a guy that was like, every interaction was through emails and stuff like that. He didn't want to be out there in the world. He wanted to have his private life private. And then he makes his art. He sends it out there. But yeah, he was of course born in 1955, if you're keeping count. Drew from an early age, mainly animals and vehicles. Here's the weird thing that I found. When I was looking into it, it says that Toriyama had a love for cars and motorcycles, something he inherited from his father, who used to race motorbikes and operated an auto repair business for a brief time, although he did not understand the mechanics himself. This is one of those things when I read it, I'm like, it just clicks. This guy loved vehicles. And I was like, it makes sense because that was one of the staples of his stuff, is that he just had these really cool vehicles, cool machines and stuff in his projects. Like
Capsule
literally,
Corp is like
Yeah.
the
Literally.
epitome of that.
yeah, like just seeing all these little cool little vehicles that characters are drove down, and it had such a unique style to it. Like a lot of Dragon Ball is kind of like this semi future kind of look to it, and so of course you had Capsule Corp, and it's very futuristic, and a lot of stuff was affected by Capsule Corp in regards to the world of Dragon Ball, and so it made sense. And it was like when I read that, I'm like, that makes sense because the dude just had these. He has so much detail to his vehicles and so much style to his vehicles that I think can only really be done by somebody that just loves mechanical stuff.
Didn't I'm going to call him Satan because I can't think of his
Mr.
Hercule.
Yeah.
He have a what was it? Pretty much a Bel Air 55.
Yeah, he had some kind.
It was pretty much. It wasn't exactly it, but it was pretty much.
Yeah, I remember that as well. But yeah, he had just a style to his stuff. I mean, that even bleeds over to Sandland, which it kind of sucks that we have Sandland literally coming out in 3 weeks, and this happens. I was when I first heard about this news, I'm like, holy crap! It's just like the whole situation with Migi and Dali's author. Like literally, we're a month away from Migi and Dali airing, and literally the mangaka unfortunately passes away, and it's kind of the same situation here. But yeah, it was like Sandland coming up here soon again. Just so much, like the tanks and stuff and the vehicle they're riding around in, it's so mechanical and it's so unique in its style. It reminds me a lot of Sidonia Rider, Blamu. Sidonia Rider, he was like an architect, I believe. He studied an architect. So yes, you see a lot of his stuff is just architecture. He has these shots where it's just architecture, and it's like it kind of bled into his other project. Like he just knows it, and he knows it. It's like he's having fun with it because he can create his own little world. Create your own architecture. Same here. He doesn't know. He loves bikes and cars, but he just doesn't know about them. But he still loves it enough that he wants to create it. So it's there. So yeah, kind of see a little myself in it as well. Dad being a mechanic, and we never really got into it though. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, that was a cool little interesting thing to kind of note. One thing notes that he was originally inspired in art by 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, really?
The 1961 version of 101 Dalmatians said that he wanted to draw pictures that good. That's what originally kind of inspired him. Now, granted, getting into manga and doing manga, apparently his original source was Astro Boy, which that's... Back then, I mean, that was literally the thing. So I would imagine that a lot of people back then were inspired by Astro Boy, which is always cool. It's one of those aspects of like Astro Boy inspires this for him, and then he goes on to basically inspire so many shonen authors after that point. But of course, yes, his original work, I think one of his first works ever was Dr. Slump. That was the one with the little girl with the cap, which it was so funny. I seen somebody post like I think it was on the final page of Dr. Slump. Somebody posted that translated, and it literally says in there, this is the last time I'm going to draw. I forget what exactly she had wrote on her cap, but this is the last time I'm gonna write that.
She was actually cameoed.
And she's literally in Dragon Ball.
She is cameoed in Dragon Ball.
That's what I was getting into. It's like there was 2 jokes in here. One was that he said he literally is done drawing that name on that cap, and he literally puts that character in Dragon Ball. But the other joke in here was that at the very bottom he says that he's hoping, he's not sure if it'll happen, that Dragon Ball will be printed. And it literally goes on to be literally I would argue the most successful franchise ever of anime. Manga, I don't know about manga, but for sure anime. Like, it is literally the most popular anime ever.
If you go worldwide, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Because One Piece...
It's
because the immediate reaction would be, well, you would have to consider One Piece, but I don't think that... if you set your biases aside, I would argue that Dragon Ball has a lot stronger grabbing power in the West than One Piece does. One Piece is popular, but I don't think it has the same power as Dragon Ball does.
This article Google pulls up immediately says Hello Kitty. Okay. Anpanman Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. That's a franchise of multiple Gundams, but yes, it's very... I mean, Gundam, I'm assuming this probably would include things like Gunpla, because Gunpla is massive money. But then Dragon Ball right after that. Fist of the North Star after that. Really?
Does Gundam have the same? Even Gundam.
I would think Pokemon would be up there a lot as well.
Pokemon, you could make the argument.
But I guess
for.
the argument is what all are they including in the actual revenues?
Yeah, if you're including figurine stuff, then yeah.
This one has Fist of the North Star up there as well. I mean, is it still that popular? I know it was huge back in the day, but is it still really that big selling? Yeah, this shows 5th for Dragon Ball as well. Like what most people would consider like mainstream anime. I mean, Hello Kitty, yes, but I mean mainstream anime. I would still say it's the biggest franchise, and it's still kicking. Like they just make more stuff, and it just keeps selling. License wise, no doubt. Like because this is something that sells buco monies in licenses, I would assume. Like that last Dragon Ball movie. I
mean,
massive.
If you think about it this way, if you were to go up to a random person and ask them if they knew who Luffy was, more than likely they won't. If you ask them who
you mean Luffy?
Trunks,
joking.
If you ask them who Trunks is or Vegeta or somebody like that, they'd probably pick it up like that.
Well,
there is the chance.
Was it Vegeta or was it Vegeta? Vegeta. That was what
Vegeta.
It was. Did you see that? There was some reporter or whatever that was talking about the passing, and he's like, he brings up this tweet. I think it was something saying,
Vegeta?
"Who do you pick, Goku or Vegeta?" And he's like, between Goku and this Vegeta, I'm going to go with Goku because his name's cooler, not Vegeta. I'm like, yeah, because you're saying it wrong. I'm like, man, I just don't say anything. It's fine. It's fine. Whatever. Just like the Luffy. It's just going to happen. You got to be in the know. You got to be in the in crowd to know what it means.
Well, and that's, but on the same token, while I really like Bleach, I guarantee you there's not very many people who know who Ichigo is. And you're talking about main characters. I mean, and when I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z, I'm talking about secondary characters. So
yeah, we all know what Goku is because you can't go a day without seeing a post saying, "But can they defeat Goku?" There's like a crew of people that that's all they do all day is look for posts about how cool a character did. Like they'll find like, I don't know, somebody posts a video of, say Song from Solo Leveling beating a boss and like, "But can he beat Goku?" Think not. It's like
you win.
You go you. Have fun. You win. Right. It's goofy, but yeah.
I did watch the Goku versus Superman epic battles thing. That was kind of fun.
Cool.
It was.
So you're feeding into it.
Yes, I fed into it. I absolutely fed into it.
Feeding into it, damn it. But no, that does make sense though, because they went from Dragon Ball all the way up until 1997, and he took a break from it, which makes sense because it seemed like there was a massive gap until Super came out, or at least I think when it came back in 2012, I think it was for the movie. But then of course they went right into the Super, because yeah, they did the the gods, the Battle of the Gods, whatever, and they get into that whole stuff, and it goes right into Super, and yeah, unfortunately here in a bit they were getting into Daimon, which Daima, I don't know how. I know he's supposed to be closely involved, but I'm kind of hoping that a lot of that stuff is done because, I mean, that gets in the whole thing here. Because yes, of course, he's now passed away, and it's like, it sucks that kind of takes a lot of the wind out of it.
Yeah, because
he was the heart of it. And I mean, it's telling when something pops up Dragon Ball related, and you can blame this on GT, even though I know unpopular opinion here, I like GT more than Super. Even though he wasn't, I think it's attributed to the fact that GT was so kind of hated by so many people because he wasn't directly involved with that. It was not canon, basically. Wasn't based off of manga. It was them doing their own thing and continuing it on. That I think a lot of people are afraid of anything else Dragon Ball coming out that he's not directly involved with. And so, yeah, every time something comes up, we're waiting to hear, is Akira Toriyama involved? Because otherwise we don't want to touch it. I'll still touch it. But I am kind of curious just how involved he was up until the point that it was, that he unfortunately passed away, that he was directly involved with that process.
It really does spur my drive to want to go back and do what I had always planned on doing, and just finishing the entirety of the franchise, because I've always wanted to. I did start at one point getting through, got a good portion of the way through Snake Way, and yes, Snake Way takes forever to get through. But
that was a kind of a cute but kind of a goofy kind of response that some people have. Like, of course, they're saying, there's a lot of art that people are posting of him like going in front of King Kai and stuff like that, and some people saying good luck on Snake Way, and it's like, it's super funny, but at the same time it's super cute that everybody's just kind of wishing him luck on that Snake Way,
yeah,
go get him kind of thing. go enjoy that run. And yeah, there's
we're working on the Dragon Balls right now. Don't worry about it, boss.
Yeah, we gotta just take your time, we'll get the Dragon Balls for you, man. It's kind of like one of those things of like, it's just so, there's so much to be said there that's so kind of fitting at the same time, just kind of an homage to him. I don't find a lot of it to be kind of disrespectful or anything, because that's the world and universe that he sort of created, and you kind of just hope that he's up there just kind of enjoying his time or whatever. But yeah, it's rough. But yeah, I like I said, I watched Dragon Ball Z first. I went back and watched the original Dragon Ball series, watched GT. It took me a long time to get into the movies in Super, which, yes, technically Super had the movies into them. Took me a long time to get into to Super, and I did not watch Superhero. Have not watched Superhero yet. The CGI was just, I wasn't excited for it. I just wasn't excited for it. That's why I was kind of very excited about Daima, because it kind of is a return to that 2D style and that good. And yes, technically, again, because I'm okay with GT, I was kind of okay with that as well. But I know a lot of people were more excited about it continuing on the story of Super and stuff like that. But yeah, I would, the thing that popped in my head, because you're talking about like rewatching it or whatever and watching the whole thing. My big desire right now, when that came to light and I got done like being stuck, like I got the news when I was on a live stream, and it literally messed me up. I was like, I can't think. Okay, keep playing. Okay, I can't think. I gotta give up. And guys, I gotta go. Can't think of anything. But when it all settled, I want to reread the original Dragon Ball manga. That's what I want to do. I think that's going to be my tribute, is to get some time and just read the original Dragon Ball. I kind of want to watch. I kind of want to read Dr. Slump, but I'm not like super into that. But I would like to read the original Dragon Ball. I think that would be fun. I don't know if you've ever had. Did you like the original Dragon Ball? I mean, it wasn't. I don't think the original Dragon Ball for me was as entertaining, because, like I said, I did Z first, and then went back and watched Dragon Ball, and it wasn't. They feel so different.
They do,
because it's like family over here, and back then it was just like goofy kid running around like a Spitfire, and Bulma's screaming about it all the time, and being pervy.
Just be honest. Yeah, I was gonna say, just be honest and know that everybody went to go and watch the Bulma fan service.
They wanted the Bulma fan service. That wasn't on TV. That wasn't on TV. You had to find the uncut versions, because you ain't getting that on TV. That was one of those moments of like, oh, so this is censorship. Like later on, finding out that they did all that stuff, it's like, oh, I never seen that scene. Never seen that scene. This is like back in the days with like replacing rice balls with donuts. We don't show that stuff here. This is for kids.
Cigarettes and
was that even on for kids?
Changing cigarettes into lollipops.
Lollipops, yeah. I'm like, why do these cool dudes always have lollipops in their mouth, and they never take them out of their mouth? It's weird. Yeah, like they go to puff it, they just like take the lollipop out of the mouth. They just had a cutaway, come back, and it's in their finger like this. Man, there's some creative stuff with that stuff back then. Yeah. What else?
Did I enjoy Dragon Ball? I actually did. I didn't hate it. The ones that I really want to watch is some of the Red Ribbon Army stuff, the stuff that gets into the backstory of the androids and stuff like that, because that was a lot of the stuff that I really kind of hate. That's why I was saying that I do want to do the entire franchise, because there's a lot of stuff that technically I've never watched. I have watched some of the Brawly stuff. I do kind of want to get back to that, because the The Bio Brawly is the one that I didn't technically ever watch, but I did like the concept of that, the idea that explaining how the Super Saiyan and the legendary Super Saiyan and how Goku kind of fits into that. A lot of that is explained in the Brawly stuff, and that I always found that fascinating, because it expands on the lore that is the Saiyans and the Vegeta planet and all that stuff. I think it's just fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting that the new Brawly movie kind of worded a little bit different. I don't remember exactly what they did, but it was kind of worded a little different, which was interesting. At least that whole story of Vegeta and Goku and the family and how they got Goku out of there and everything. So, yeah. There was one of the cool things, like I said earlier, is that once this whole thing was sort of came to light, there was a lot of people that kind of outpoured their thoughts and condolences and their responses to everything. And I did kind of, I think Ann did a pretty decent kind of pull up of all of them, but the Shonen Jump editorial team says Akira Toriyama, of course, for those that don't know, Shonen Jump is literally where all of his stuff was kind of put in. They said Akira Toriyama, whose many works were published in Shonen Jump magazine, has passed away. The entire Shonen Shueisha editorial department is deeply saddened by this news and sudden passing. Dr. Slump, Dragon Ball, Sandland, the manga drawn by him have transcended national borders and have been read by all over the world. In addition, the charming characters he created, his overwhelming design sense have greatly influenced many manga authors and creators. We'd like to express our gratitude to him for his great achievements and pray for his soul to rest in peace. That, again, I think I got a little bit in that earlier, but like that's one of the biggest telling things is that he had such a unique design. And yeah. I think that's what really makes him kind of stand out so much. I mean, that was like the whole thing with all the JRPGs and stuff, like Dragon Quest and stuff that he was a part of. He had this cool design to his stuff. Yeah. And again, it was a aha moment when you realize, holy crap, this is the guy that did all the Dragon Quest characters, designs and stuff. It's like it clicks because it makes sense. They look the same. Not the same, but it's a unique style.
It is. It's kind of funny how you kind of. It's almost like everybody says, okay, what does anime look like? And then they hold up a picture of like Goku or something like that. And you're like, okay, I get it. I understand what anime is. And so you kind of just see all these things that are unique to him.
Yeah.
And you just go, okay, no, that's just the anime aesthetic. And then all of a sudden, somebody actually points out, oh no, that's all the same guy that's doing all that artwork. And you're like, oh, so it's not the anime aesthetic, that is his aesthetic.
Yeah.
And that's that it kind of changes your perspective on that thing, that those are, while they are an aesthetic that is anime, it is his aesthetic. And then you can understand that there is different artworks that are involved with anime.
Yeah, and it also kind of adds to it in the idea. I mean, you had cases like Fifth of North Star and stuff like that, but it's like he was also kind of his muscle structures and stuff like that.
Was he tied in with Fist?
No, I was just saying that because we were talking earlier about the.
Yeah, that is a very, very distinct aesthetic as well.
Yeah, it's very unique. Yes, very
muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. I mean,
but I mean that was like
it's like Inception type thing, you know.
But like, or one of my early experiences where I wanted to get into drawing was drawing Dragon Ball characters, like their muscle structures. It was like so cool, and I was like, I had fun like just drawing like these beefy muscles on the arms and stuff like that as a character design. I mean, and yes, technically there was such a unique style to Dragon Ball series that. It was good. It was fun to actually draw it because there was some aspects of Dragon Ball was simplistic. And so it kind of almost encouraged you to want to draw it as well. I mean, let's be honest. Goku's hair is easy to draw. Yeah. It's literally spike, round, spike. It's like it's a very simple thing. And plus like Super Saiyans, it's just spikes. So it was a lot of fun to kind of just draw those kids. And it always had like this distinct it's very specific type of facial structure too, because it was always like up. It was always like a curve up, and it was literally like an M, curve down, and then a spike. And like I said, it was like it was just something that just kind of drew me to want to draw it. And unfortunately, again, no shock to anybody, I stopped doing that. Didn't do that for the longest time, but that was one of the early experiences of just wanting to draw these characters. Like seeing Goku just wreck something. It's like, I want to draw that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we have the next one is from Dragon Quest Hori, who said, I am still in disbelief the news of Toriyama's death, which was so sudden. I've known Toriyama-san since I was a writer for Shonen Jump. And with the recommendation of Torishima-san, the editor in charge of Toriyama's works, I decided to ask him to draw the art of Dragon Quest when I began to develop the game. In the 37 years since then, he has been involved in characters and monster designs, and the creation of countless charming characters. The history of the history of Dragon Quest walked hand in hand with Toriyama's character designs. Toriyama-san and the late Sugiyama-san sensei were friends of mine who worked on Dragon Quest with me for a long time. That he would die, I don't know what else to say. I'm really, really disappointed. So, yeah, again, that was like... I'm sure that Dragon Quest would still be Dragon Quest without Toriyama-san, but it is what it is because of Toriyama-san. It's kind of one of those things where it's like I can see it living without, but because seeing these two creative minds come together is like one of those just happenings that you would hope can happen again, but just never really happens often, which I always appreciate too.
Dragon Quest is this fascinating, the artwork for that is fascinating in how it has almost a charm that kind of just...
The little blob, dude. The little slime.
The slime is a good example, but I even taking your most kind of bad guy-ish characters in that game, and when you look at them, they're almost innocent, inviting, fun, kind of silly. A lot of round. I mean, yeah, you have the spiky of the hair, just like he normally does, but in a lot of cases, most of the artwork is kind of soft and fun and like I said, inviting. It makes you want to play and it's kind of cozy in that respect.
Yeah. Oda, One Piece. That was a big one. It's too soon. The hole left is too large. The thought of never seeing him again fills me with sadness. I've admired him so much since I was a child, and even remember the day that when he called me by name for the first time. I also fondly remember the days where Kishimoto-san and I were giddy on our way home when he called us friends. I also remember the last conversation we had. He is one of the people who took the baton from an era when it was said reading manga would make you stupid, and creating an era where both adults and children could read and enjoy manga. He showed me you can do things like this with manga. You can go around the world. It was like watching a hero push forward. That's the first half. So true. And it is one of those oddities that I think a lot of people in the West may not realize it, but this is a thing in Japan as well, that otaku culture is kind of looked down upon. I mean, me and Chris talked about that when we first chose Otaku Spirit as our name for the podcast and on into everything else. Is the term otaku is kind of a derogatory term. You don't want to be an otaku, a car otaku, a train otaku, a manga otaku. It's seen as the obsession is pulling you away from society. And this is something that's present in Japan as well. The idea of looking at picture books, mangas, was kind of frowned upon. It like he said, it was at the time that he was getting into it and making it popular, it was seen as something that you shouldn't do. Don't read that stuff. It'll make you, like I said, stupid. But he showed that both adults and children can read this stuff. And I think that's even more so, his inspiration in Japan was even more so found in the West. Because I think Dragon Ball was what helped the Western culture, and, you know, specifically mentioning United States, because that's our experience, by the way. Here, it popularized anime. I mean, yes, you had like Sailor Moon and stuff like that, but it was really Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball took off. Yes, later on, One Piece and everything else, but at that time, it was Dragon Ball.
There was shows before then, but they didn't catch
No, yeah.
like Dragon Ball. I mean, because you could go back as far as Goleon or some of the other ones. I mean, I think Astro Boy even made it over here at one
Yeah.
point. So it's not now going to more what Oda is saying, which I think is really kind of more listening to his words kind of gives me goosebumps, because I envision this, because the way he was saying it is that this hero that pushed forth through the kind of to make it a thing, and I think that that's something that's really kind of holds true, because while yes, Dragon Ball did move over here, it didn't really take over as far as a manga is concerned. Jump really, there was Jump. I remember seeing Shonen Jump on the magazine rack here and there. I always would grab them, and I'd flip through them or buy one and take it home and flip through it there. Jump is kind of really one of those cool things, and having such a flagship as Dragon Ball in those is huge. And in a way, I think that a lot of people were probably did buy that Jump just for Dragon Ball, not necessarily for some of the other stuff in the book, but Dragon Ball and your mainstay licenses. Heck yeah, you get to read ahead of the series on TV. You know that people were doing that. Mm-hmm. So I think that is kind of, in a way, saying, yeah, that is him that pushed that flag forward and said, I'm staking this claim that we are not something that you can ignore. And I don't know how much he was pushing that, or if it was it just happened to be the publishers and all that, but he had a property that was worth it for the Western audience, that they were interested.
It's more of an idea, like, yeah, he showed me that it can happen, not necessarily that he was actively doing it. Yeah. I can agree with you there. I think he's literally just seen, he did that. Like, that's something that he did. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny, because I think, from my perspective, I never really caught that manga was really a thing in the West. It was, for me, I just never seen it. Like, everywhere I went, the people that I knew, nobody was reading manga. And it was, honestly, for me, it's one of those things where it's like you almost don't even know that there is an existence of a manga for all of this stuff. It wasn't until later on you're like, oh, that was based off a comic? What? So for me, it's like I kind of felt like, for sure, I think the anime itself is what made it huge. But yeah, I can totally see a lot of people wanting to dive into the manga after they realize, holy crap, this thing's cool, and yeah, get ahead of it.
Yeah.
In that case, like, now I'm kind of curious the timeline, like how far the manga was by the time it hit us, or at least somebody was translating it, versus the anime, and how far it got. Because again, once it got to the end of Z, it went off to GT. I bet people were going, wait, where's the GT part? Where's the GT manga? I can't find that. Oda continues, the wonder and excitement when Dragon Ball was first published is probably rooted in the childhoods of not only manga authors, but also creatives in all industries. His presence is that of a great tree. For manga authors and of my generation who have stood on the same stage, the closer we got to Toriyama's works, the more I realized how great his presence was. It was awe-inspiring. But I was just happy to see the easygoing man time and time again, because we love Toriyama Sensei to our bones. I would like to express my respects and gratitude to the richly creative world Toriyama Sensei left behind, and pray for his soul to rest in peace from the bottom of my heart. I hope heaven will be as pleasant world as you envisioned it. Oh, that one hurts. That one hurts. The creator of One Piece. Now I don't want to get too much into it, and I know that Chris is, I don't know how much he's got into it, but this is where it starts to kind of bug me a little bit, because there was, again, like I said, some really big creators that are speaking out, and amongst it all is people that are just upset to even think that Toriyama inspired any of these shonen writers. No. In their words, they inspired him. He literally laid a foundation for them. That's not to say that they wouldn't exist without Toriyama, but it's to say that he somehow inspired them, enriched them, or created some sort of foundation in which he stepped on. And Oda put it best.
Yeah.
Massive. I'm not that I have anything against Oda or One Piece or anything, but I gained a massive amount of respect just hearing his words on Toriyama, because it shows you how much this guy really just appreciated what that guy did. Like they enriched each other basically. So I kind of wish I could know more, and I could probably look into it more about maybe possibly Toriyama being inspired by them as well.
Well, and that goes into what in a lot of cases, the Western vision of a rival versus the for lack of a better term, the
West.
basically rivals in the West versus rivals in Japan. I mean, they have a mutual respect for their rival. Their rival pushes them to become better versions of themselves, and so they almost, in some respects, they hate the idea of ever actually getting their rival falling. They're like, wait, where did you go? Come here. We have to fight. We have to keep going. They have this kind of weird friendship and competitiveness with them, and they don't want to see him go.
Yeah, the one that beats you should still succeed, because otherwise, why did they beat you?
Yeah,
I've seen that a lot in it, where it's like, you place third, they place second, so they better beat first, because I would have beat first, so you better beat first.
Yeah,
kind of thing, or at least become first over the other person is really what it is. But yeah, I agree. Kishimoto of Naruto. To be honest, it was sudden. I don't know what or how to write about this. However, for now, I would like to express my thoughts and feelings of Toriyama Sensei, which I wish I could have told him someday. I grew up with Dr. Slump in the lower grades of elementary school and Dragon Ball in higher grades, and it was natural for his manga to be a part of my life. Even if something had happened, every week Dragon Ball made me forget it. It was a solace for me. A country boy with nothing to do. It was because I enjoyed Dragon Ball so much. It was when I was a university student. Suddenly, Dragon Ball, which had been part of my life for so many years, ended. I felt an incredible sense of loss, and I didn't know what to do or what to look forward to. But at the same time, it was an opportunity for me to truly understand the greatness of the author who created Dragon Ball. I thought, I also want to create works like yours, and I want to be like you. And as I aspired to become a manga author, following in your footsteps, that feeling of loss began to disappear. It was because making comics was fun. I was able to find new enjoyment by following in your footsteps. You have always been my guide. I admire you. I'm sorry for the inconvenience this may cause you, but I am grateful for you. For me, you are the god of salvation and god of manga. When we met for the first time, I was nervous. I couldn't say a word. However, after meeting you many times at the Tezuka Prize Screening Committee, I became able to talk to you. I will never forget the embarrassing smile you gave when Oda and I, two Dragon Ball children, became children again. I felt like I read that wrong. I will never forget the embarrassed smile you gave when Oda and I, two Dragon Ball children, became children again. And as if we were competing, we talked excitedly about how much fun Dragon Ball was. I just received the news of your passing. I felt an even greater sense of loss than when Dragon Ball ended. I still don't know how to deal with this hole in my heart. I can't even read my favorite Dragon Ball. I don't feel like I've ever been able to properly write what I wanted to say to you in this statement. Everyone around the world was still looking forward to seeing your work. If I could make one wish with the Dragon Balls, I'm sorry. Maybe that's selfish of me, but I'm sad. Thank you, Akira Toriyama Sensei, for all your works, for all of your enjoyable works over the past 45 years. Thank you very much for your hard work. I am sure your remaining family members are deeply hurt. Please take care of yourself. I pray that Akira Toriyama will rest in peace.
Somebody else caught the gather the Dragon Balls joke.
Again, it's a cute tribute, basically. Like it's so great that something like a mechanic, such a joke. At the end of the day, that you have to be a true anime. I'm going to say this, but you're not a true Dragon Ball fan unless you can make the joke that they use the Dragon Balls way too much. That's why I like GT so much. It literally makes it a plot point. You use the dang balls way too much, but you have to acknowledge something like that. It's a staple, and thus it makes perfect sense. Like I said, it's the running on snake way thing, but the thing here. It's just how much, like, these two, Oda and was it Kishimoto and Oda, like, just children just squeeing over their sensei, basically. It's just like I can just totally picture these two dorks just being super excited to meet Toriyama. Again, shows how much he meant to them and what he sort of created. And I would imagine, like, what he created within Shueisha and Shonen Jump. I mean, yes, putting aside the money and success, but like just how that his property brought so many more people.
Could you imagine how? And this is one of those things that, now that that I'm older and I've moved over into almost full on Japanese culture, having a property that you're just so involved in and you are just so dug into, and then having that moment where you're standing in front of the person who is your quote unquote favorite artist or whatever have you. I was thinking about Bleach in particular, but I could assume that it would be something similar to what they're going through, of having the writer right in front of you and you have the chance to talk to him about anything that you want. Mushoku Tensei, you have him, the mangaka, standing right in front of you. No language barrier. You just have the ability to ask him whatever you want.
Don't say the mangaka. Nobody likes the manga for Mushoku Tensei. I know you misspoke.
But you have him right there, and you could just pick his brain for anything you want to know. It would just be so much fun to do that. And I can imagine, yeah, you'd get into this almost geeky moment of wanting to dig into everything. It would be so much fun.
I was trying to find the one by Masako Nozawa. I thought that there was one posted from her. They have the voice of Piccolo. I think every single one of the voices said something. Voice of Piccolo. My manager brought me the news of Akira Toriyama's passing after Mako-san, which is Masako Nozawa, which again is the voice of Goku. You're the second person I've told to Toshio-san. The first I thought was, I wonder how Mako-san felt. For Mako-san, Dragon Ball is her life work, and Goku is her alter ego. I've seen the videos of her at a festival here recently doing her Kamehameha. So, but yeah, her alter ego, more than how I feel about Piccolo. The last time I met Toriyama was the previous screening of Dragon Ball Super Heroes. I would like to express my deepest condolences. I don't know if I want to read anything wrote by her. Interesting,
because that brought her into the limelight completely, and she became just a.
She literally she told him that she was going to, as long as she was living, she was going to keep pressing that character.
But yeah, she became a mainstay just because of that show. So
she told Nikon Sports, "I don't want to believe it. My head feels empty because I don't want to think about it. Still, I remember the words that Toriyama Sensei said to me: 'Take care of Goku, please.' It makes me think I will stay near." I told her I wasn't going to read hers. I don't want to read hers. I said I wasn't going to read hers. It makes me think I will stay near Goku's side until my energy runs out. Sensei, please watch over us from the heavens. I hope you depart with peace. I hope you depart in peace. I mean, Oof, I don't know why hers hurts more. She's just like, she's so precious forever. And again, I admit, I couldn't stand we watched the English stuff for so long. It's like I never watched the Japanese. Now I did eventually start watching a lot of the Japanese stuff, especially going into like Super and stuff like that.
It was hard. I'm being honest. It was hard to watch a lot of that. I did finally kind of get it.
Eventually transitioned.
Eventually transitioned, but
took a little bit of ages.
It's one of those that's really weird to express. I mean, everybody's always, well, you don't know that you. I started out in Dragon Ball Z in English, so I was used to Vegeta sounding the way Vegeta does. It's a Super Saiyan bargain sale. I mean, I have all those cliche, cheesy lines that I absolutely love, but going into it, Goku has a very shrill voice. Even the English dub has kind of a more higher pitched tone to it, but her voice is a lot more high pitch and shrill, and it doesn't quite work for what you kind of envision.
She still pulls off those screams at her age. That's what's nuts.
Yeah, it doesn't quite set well at first. Now, after a while, you can get used to it. It's just as normal as any other voice, but it's funny where there is this kind of transition phase that you have to go through for it.
Yeah, the ones that were crazy was like, again, like I mentioned earlier, the president of France literally posted a picture of a signature from Toriyama. It says to Akira Toriyama and his millions of fans who grew up with him. And it's literally Boo and Goku with a signature on there. That was nuts. And yes, the Foreign Ministry of El Salvador released a statement on Saturday, extending sincerest condolences to Toriyama's family, friends, and people of government of Japan. Part of the Foreign Ministry's message just says, in the face of this irreplaceable loss, our nation recognizes Toriyama's invaluable contributions to the world of manga and popular culture. His iconic works have marked several generations of Salvadorians and inspired artists, captivating millions of readers and viewers around the world. His legacy will live in the hearts of his fans and in the history of manga. Didn't they make like a... Was it them that did the... They made it like a national day for him? Somebody made a national day for him.
I don't know that.
I don't remember exactly what it was. The author of Fairy Tail, Hiro Mashima.
Really?
Without Toriyama Sensei, I would not have become a manga author. Such a loss.
And you notice the ones, those ones in particular. Naruto has spiky hairs.
Oh yeah,
Fairy Tail.
Shonen. So shonen.
Fairy Tail has spiky hairs.
Yeah, very shonen. Makan Ki, Hiromitsu Takeda of Makan Ki. Can't believe why. I'm sure everyone around the world is shocked. When I was in elementary school, I admired the drawings of Dragon Ball and copied them, which was the reason I started drawing manga. I pray he rests in peace. To Love Ru author. They even did art with it. That's cool. To Love Ru character in that art. It's a long post, but I would like to write down my personal thoughts to help clear my mind. That was what I felt like when that night when I found out. I literally just made my video that night because I'm like, I just don't... It usually takes a while before it hits me with loss. And I didn't really think that I was going to get like super emotional because, let's face it, I'm not like... He's not my dad or a relative. But it's more of a... What hits me the most is more just realizing how much his works were these precious moments of my life. Like just sitting down and watching Dragon Ball and enjoying it. Coming home all excited, like we had to record it on a VHS. We had to set the timer on the VHS and hope that it recorded it properly. We were so excited to watch the next episode. It's just those memories is what really kind of feeds into it.
Well, I want to say that I said the same thing when we were talking about the not Miyazaki, but the I can't think of his name at the moment, but the one who did a lot of the Ghibli movies that I really, really love. Mm-hmm. Just knowing that he's not there and it's not so much that it is directly affecting us, but in a different way.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying, it's not our father who, it's not exactly like that. It's more along the lines of this person who gave us such art that we consume on a massive basis
Joy,
is just
excitement,
gone.
Yeah.
We will never get those anymore. And it while it may not hurt us like directly right now, it is a loss of something that we do truly love and enjoy.
I mean, there is also an aspect of like future potential too, because like I think Satoshi Kon's a prime example of, gosh, I wish that guy lived. Like, every time you watch a Satoshi Kon, what can I get that out? A Satoshi Kon film, or even the TV series with I forget the name of that series that he did.
Perfect Blue?
No, that was a movie. But anyways, he died so young, and it's like every time you watch one of his movies, it's like, I wish he was able to make more. Like, I wish he was able to make more, because he invokes so much from you when you watch his stuff. It's like terror, mystique, fear, excitement, all that kind of stuff is all mixed into it. So yeah, it's also an aspect of like, selfishly, you want to say, I wish I can get more. I mean, that's like Berserk. I mean, yes, I'm glad that his friend, he supposedly told him a lot about it, what he wanted to do with the story, but it's still like similar to anything Dragon Ball going in the future. How much is this of stuff that he wrote down? How much of it is somebody just bleeding out the market? Let's just milk it. I mean, he's not around anymore. We'll just find somebody else that can do similar and just milk it. Is it for business, or is it his legacy? That's the question mark, right?
Yeah.
Business or legacy? Which is always going to be business, no matter how you look at it. But can it be a little bit of that legacy too? I just want a little bit of legacy in that. Just asking for a little. Anyways, yeah, the Two Love Rue says, this is a long post, but how far to get down. When I was a boy, I often changed schools, and I was alone quite a bit. But once I started talking about Dragon Ball, I was able to make new friends everywhere. I learned the joy of drawing manga by copying many of Toriyama Sensei's illustrations. I was hooked on Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger 2. A gamer, the first time a drawing of mine appeared on Jump was a postcard project for Dragon Ball readers. Oh, that's what that is. Maybe? I think that gave me confidence and led me to submit my work to Manga Award several years later. I didn't have the chance to meet him in person, but even if I had the chance, I might have been too scared to get close to him. That's how much I admired him. The illustrations and kind comments he drew for Two Love Rue's 10th. Oh, that's what he drew. Okay. All right. I'm glad I read this. I read this whole thing. The art there's art of the actual character Two Love Rue, and it's in Toriyama style. And I thought he was drawing that as a tribute. No, it was Toriyama that drew it. That's cool.
Who?
The author of Two Love Rue.
No, I know. But who's the character?
Oh, I forget what her name is.
Lulu or Lala.
Lulu or Lala, one of those two.
One of them.
One of the 10th anniversary are treasures that would last a lifetime. Could you imagine that? Being inspired by an author or an artist, and then getting into it because of that, or even crafting your art, tracing what he did, and then eventually creating your own thing, and then having that person draw your character in their style. Like, what? That would be insane. You created many happy memories in my life and everyone's life. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Toriyama Sensei. I hope that someday I will meet you wearing a halo on your head. I pray that your soul may rest in peace.
Haha, there's another Dragon Ball joke. Gotcha.
Yep, got the little halo. What else is in here that's interesting? A lot of adult authors. Like, A&N's like... Just like looking at A&N, are you saying that you guys have a lot of adult authors following? Yeah, anyways. What else? Oh. Naoki Urasawa, is that the creator of Monster? I don't know what his name is. I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me. Yeah. the creator of Monster chimed in. Wow. Like I said, this dude touched so many lives. I mean, even if he didn't directly touch them, it's like, yeah, they're probably going to make a statement about
I
it.
go back to what Oda had said. He was pretty much shoving the banner down the field and saying, we're not stuck here. And so everybody
That's a weird way of saying it. Moving the goal post? No, that's a bad term. Don't say that, Andrew. But yeah, he said, when I read the first chapter of Dr. Slump in Shonen Jump, I thought, wow, this person will take manga to a different level. Man, he knew before anybody else did, because we're talking Dr. Slump. That's the first. Akira Toriyama has since achieved an extraordinary feat. I wanted to meet you once and listen to your story. It's such a shame. Sincerely pray your soul. Rest in peace. He didn't get a chance to meet him. Oh, that sucks. Oof. How many more they got? Oh, there's a little bit more. Shoko Nakagawa, Elena in Dragon Quest Heroes, and also Oracle Fish. Yeah, there was an Oracle Fish in Dragon Ball Super. The Oracle Fish. It's so sudden. I can't believe it. Akira Toriyama's sensei created many anime and has fans all over the world, and I was one of them. I grew up with Dragon Ball and Dragon Quest. The excitement, characters, and world created from the lines of Akira Toriyama drew unparalleled, and I don't want he drew is unparalleled, and I don't want to believe this world famous treasure will be lost. Oracle Fish, Princess Elena, and Princess Elena, I was given the opportunity to voice them, and I was able to meet Toriyama and express my thanks and gratitude to him in person. I can't hold back my emotions. He's just too great. His achievements in creating a revolution in the history of manga and anime throughout the world is a treasure to humanity. I believe as long as the earth exists, Akira Toriyama's work will be handed down in human history forever as a pioneer who had a great influence on media around the world. I am truly sorry to hear of his sudden death. Sincerely pray his soul rest in peace. Another one that kind of acknowledges the idea of how I really do believe that years down the road, his stuff is still going to be around. I was even talking to somebody the other day when I was mentioning earlier where I was like, I really want to go read the original Dragon Ball. Like, I want to go buy it. Like, I want to buy the original Dragon Ball and read it. But I'm like, is it even in print anymore? But I'm like, I don't want them to do it, but I can see a lot of these companies like, we need to reprint this stuff. Like, let's get like some thick, cool, hardbound, tribute to him type of things. I'm like, yeah, hit it, sell it. Yes, it's technically banking on his passing, but it's also a celebration. I think there's going to be a lot of people right now that just want to read it. Yeah. And I hope it's available somewhere so that people can read it. Because like me, there's going to be a lot of people that I just have a desire to relive that original. Again, I don't know if Dr. Slump ever came over here. Good question.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But yeah, I would love to read that as well. But I'm sure people have translated it.
I just knew of her cameo. I didn't know exactly of that show. I didn't actually watch it. I just knew of her cameo.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever animated, was it?
I don't even know how I found out that she was cameoed in there.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I just know at some point I learned that she was like her own thing. Yeah, they did animate some of her stuff. Wow, 243. Yes, they did. I stand corrected. Dr. Slump has been adapted. I don't know how much of it. But yeah,
did it come to the West?
Oh, I don't know. I doubt it. But yeah, like originally 74 episodes, and they did Dr. Slump, Arole-chan. Arole, that was what he was saying that he wouldn't draw anymore because that's on her cap. But yeah, that's the 243 episodes. Holy crap. Yeah, they did a lot of Dr. Slump. That's crazy. The original Dr. Slump was 18 volumes. That's not bad. That is not bad. Yeah, I'd be curious if anybody had picked that up. That'd be a cool read too. Anyways, what else? Vegeta. Horikawa? As Vegeta, is that his name, Horikawa? Do you remember what Vegeta's name's Seiyu was? Vegeta. I'm sorry. Was it? I can't even say it wrong. I can't remember how he said it wrong. Let's say Vegeta. Vegeta. That's what he said. Vegeta. I can't even say his name wrong. The Japanese is Horikawa. Yeah, that's him. Horikawa says, now from Vegeta, it's too soon to die. Join your hands in prayer. Cool, dude. That is cool. Oh, originally he did a post where he was himself, and he didn't. Then he made a post as Vegeta. Okay, I get it now. As himself, his own self, not Vegeta. It was like a bolt out of the blue, and I still can't believe it. A new chapter in a series had just begun to, just as more and more thrilling stories were going to be told. It's too sudden. It's such a shame. Thank you very much for creating such a wonderful work. Rest in peace. And then, sorry, Vegeta. It's too soon to die. Join us in prayer. Join your hands in prayer. Get the Dragon Balls. Oh, that's sweet. I love it. I love they all know they could do stuff like that, and it's not like seen as bad. Just so much passion and love around it. I think that's the most telling thing. It's
the difference between the West and and Japan.
Yeah, and just the fandom and the idea of the fandom itself. I mean, in the West, again, you have certain people that are just using this to spread misinformation and stupidity, but
clout chasing.
Yes. Shall we get negative and get into that? Unless you want to talk about anything else,
we don't have to talk about it. That just happens to be how I found out about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much detail about it, but yeah, I do hate the fact that there's people that are just trying to get the clicks. I know that they don't care. They don't honestly care, but like the whole, we got to bring up Popo again. Yeah, he has this character that's black skinned. It's obviously racist. No, it's actually technically was a Hindu god that they kind of I don't think he's ever stated specifically, but I think it's most people are like, no, it's like this Hindu god he's based off of, and he legit looks like that Hindu god. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see the caricatures that he obviously has in his work, but I mean, this thing's been around since 1983. Of course it's going to have caricatures in it. I don't think he was inherently that way. I mean, if he was a bad man with bad portrayals of characters, obviously depicting that he's against those races, I don't think he would be so loved by so many cultures and so many races. Like this guy literally has a fandom worldwide.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find anybody that found his stuff offensive. I
would think it'd be a bit more blatant about it.
Yeah.
I don't think it would just be something that would be kind of to give you an idea, it went for several years before anybody started deciding, that Popo was not exactly a kosher character. Okay, why? And then you find out, okay, it's something as silly as that. It's like, you're kind of stretching at that point. Popo is like one of the most fluffy guys in the entire show. I mean, he's not blatantly offensive. I mean,
yeah, he wasn't negatively portrayed, but again, like I said, if he's even betrayal of African American, like I said, everything points to him being a Hindu god. He was formed after a Hindu god.
Yeah, if you consider
but even if he was, it's like he's not a negative character. He's a cool character.
Exactly,
we loved him.
I mean, I'd be more offended by Roshi. I mean, he's probably about a million times more offensive as far as a character is concerned. But when it comes down to it, even that. It's like you're not changing anything? What are you wanting to gain by bringing it even up at the last after he's passed away?
Engagements.
Exactly. That's the only thing I can figure is you're clout chasing. You're literally
It's
trying
always-
to make bolster yourself by causing a ruckus in the middle of a moment where we're all reflecting on and trying to celebrate the life of a man who did something that is, like Oda had said, I'm bringing it up again because I think that it was a fantastic portrayal of what this man did. He literally moved everything out into the West. Now, before then, we were all just gathering, and there, like I said, there was Shonen Jump, which was trying to get into the Western market, but it wasn't doing all that well. But they used his artwork, his story, and it changed things. Now, it didn't blow up immediately, but it slowly changed one person at a time, and it slowly, over time, it caused now that all of us are looking back and we're going, wow, how much has it changed by one franchise?
Yeah.
If you were to consider a world that franchise was not in, what would we be talking about? Maybe Naruto? It would be a little bit later. We would still be still be in the,
Would Naruto have gotten in the manga? And would have yes, like I said before, there's a good chance they would have, but they themselves admit I was inspired by him.
Yeah,
I started drawing his stuff,
and that's
yes, there could have been they could have read Astro Boy instead, and they got inspired just like he did from Astro Boy, but there was an inspiration there, obviously.
And how much would your artwork have changed? A lot of your artworks would have been more shaped, more fashioned by
the style of it, the action itself, all that kind of stuff is obviously going to shift. But yeah, I think the stuff that annoys me the most is the people that don't want, like I mentioned earlier, the people that don't want them to have been inspired. That's the part that like boggles my mind. They literally say they're inspired by him. And there's like these, like it's the people that feel like you have to support only one shonen. It's the One Piece is the only thing that exists. Everything else is garbage. People. It's the Dragon Ball Z is the only thing that exists, and everything else is garbage. And the Naruto fans that this is the only thing that exists, and nothing else is garbage. Everything else is garbage, and they can't accept that their thing may possibly, again, they could have been inspired by something else, may not have existed if it weren't for Akira. And Toriyama-san and what he did in opening the doors for a lot of other stuff. And yes, him helping this industry build. I'm going to agree with you. I think Oda's statement was literally the best one out of all of them. Not that there was a competition here, but the fact that he hit so many things. And yes, he technically wrote a lot more than most everybody else did. That he hit so many important things. And one of those things, like I said, was this idea of manga used to be this thing. He was getting into it and he was producing his stuff when manga was seen as something that if you read will make you stupid. And he brought it out to where young and old enjoyed it. And that's the key thing there. It's not just a comic book. It's not just for kids. It's something that spread. And I think in the West, what also kind of helped it to spread as well is how long it ran for. And yes, technically, at this point, One Piece has far exceeded it, but again, One Piece is later. One Piece is like later, what was it, like 1999 that the One Piece started anime? Like, so this is like in 80s and 90s. Dragon Ball was something that was like going for a long time. And I think there is an element of keeping those fans around to watch the next episode. And at some point they realize, oh, these are late teens. These are adults that are now still watching it. Like they got into it when they were 16. And then 10 years later, there's 26 and they're an adult technically. And they're still watching Dragon Ball. Why? You're an adult now. Well, because I watched it back then. I'm going to keep watching it.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, shocking, you caught me. I'm now an adult watching an anime. And I think that's one of those things of many things that sort of breaks that barrier of, no, when you get old, leave that behind. Don't touch that. No, he brought that child and that desire for entertainment and who cares if it's animated or not, to adults. Yeah, I'm gonna keep watching it. It's Dragon Ball. Like even now, when Daima was announced, I mean it happened again probably when Superhero or Battle of the Gods came out. But every time it would come back, you had everybody's like, yeah, Dragon Ball's coming back, and they're like, what? You're still watching anime? If it's Dragon Ball, hell yeah, I'm watching it. Like more Dragon Ball. You had the excitement around like Daima when that was announced. You had a bunch of adults that are freaking out and they're excited for it. Something that I was honestly expecting with Bleach when Bleach finally came back. But again, with Bleach, technically, this is from a manga that's already completed way back here, and I think most everybody already read it. This is for new stuff. Dragon Ball's back. New Dragon Ball. We're excited again. It just every time he probably returned was just this massive thing. I didn't actually realize what kind of a gap they had between the original Dragon Ball and getting into, like I said, Battle of the Gods in 2012. That was, what, from 97 to 2012? Was a gap there? I'm guessing the Super was technically still being wrote. And then Battle of the Gods came out, and then they started adapting that.
There was a gap between Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. I mean,
For sure,
I don't remember how long it was before he started writing it again, but it was only a few years ago.
Well, yeah, you technically had GT. That whole thing was airing for... GT didn't go for very long, though.
No, GT only went for... That was only a few seasons, right? Was it 5 seasons?
It was 64 episodes. That was pretty decently long. That's what, 4 or 5 cores? Yeah, it's 5 cores.
Yeah, about 5. That's what
That's longer than I thought it was. Again, I just technically rewatched the whole thing here recently. It was about 3 years ago, so. Yeah, the original Z went all the way up until 96. Oh my gosh, there's so many entries in here. Where's Super? Where's Super? Well, again, the movie was going to be out in 2012, and the movie got turned into... no, I think the Battle of the Gods was it still a movie, and I think it was the other one against... No, that got split into this Super series, didn't it? Didn't Super series readapt the movies, both of them? But yeah,
I haven't the slightest clue, honestly.
Oh, so the manga series is always Dragon Ball? It was never Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball C, Dragon Ball Super? They always named it Dragon Ball?
That would make... That sounds right.
Yeah, because Dragon Ball Z, it says here that it was adaptation of 195 through 519 of Dragon Ball. How crazy. I thought the mangas were split up in names too. Interesting. Learn something new every day. As long as I've been a fan of Dragon Ball, I still learn things. Because again, I never touched the source material. Never. He did name the sequel Dragon Ball Super, though. Okay. So that went on from there. Jeez, dude. Just a massive legacy. Yeah, then Super begins 2015. So yeah, like a little bit after the movies came out. But yeah, like I said, going back to my earlier point, there's this element of like, yes, there's the obvious is that who gives a crap? Let people mourn. People are hurt right now. Let them mourn. Let them talk about him. Let them just celebrate what the guy has done. And I think for the most part, a lot of these people that are raising up the criticisms, it's either like these really almost scary, I want to say delusional, a very scary group of people that just cannot accept anything but their prized series being affected by anything else. Because this is great, and that's bad, and I can't accept that this may not exist without that. But additionally, like I said, I think a lot of it is just the clout chasers that really have no passion for what they're talking about. When you bring things up like Popo, it's like they're not listening to people's retorts saying that, yeah, it's more than likely based off this Hindu god. Their whole focus is click my thing. And it's like to bring that kind of stuff up for clout in this time really tells me something about you. If that's your desire, is your... Akira Toriyama inspired many. He created one of the most successful franchises of all time. He brought the love of anime and inspired so many people to be creatives and brought just the love and discovery of anime to so many people, millions of people across the entire globe, no matter what country you're in, like especially like again like Mexico and stuff like that. Huge. It's huge. This man did that. What's your contribution? I got 20,000 likes on my post about him though. Good for you. What are you doing next week?
How long
Good luck next week. What are you doing next week? This guy pushed the limits of everything.
How long before we get the first video of a 7-hour explanation of why Dragon Ball was never good?
It was never good, right? It was never good. You gotta give. Well, no, I mean you could hit it right now and probably get a lot of hate clicks on it. But yeah, I'm sure somebody's putting it together. Somebody out there is putting it together. But yeah, it's like I admit earlier, like I'm not. I fell out of love of Dragon Ball, but I don't know necessarily that I fell out of love with it. It's just it went away. Like legit, like we mentioned earlier, it disappeared for a while. I mean, it took until 2012 before it came back.
I don't know.
I don't necessarily think that I fell out of love with it, but I will admit that I wasn't a super fan of Super. So there was a side of me that almost felt like I was falling out of love with his style, but at the same time, I think it's just really more the fact that it took so long to get something else.
I don't know that it's necessarily fall out of love with it. It's just that it's there, and you can go to it anytime you want. It's like Naruto. Yeah. I've never fell out of love with Naruto. I love Naruto. I don't actively go and finish the entire show, but I love it. It's there. Bleach, same thing. I'm a little bit more apt to go and watch that show, but that's slightly different. I think that, like I've said before, I mean, when we were kind of tier listing everything, it was like Bleach is here and this is here and this is here and this is here. It's not necessarily that you don't love them. They're just, you just have these these are the ones that I'm going to go after. Those ones I'll go and watch when I have some time. Like I said earlier, I really want to go back and watch the entire series of Dragon Ball again. It's a time thing, but I do want to do it. I do love Dragon Ball.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, yeah, I thought that I fell out of love with it, but again, I acknowledge that it was because it disappeared for a while. But I think even though I didn't enjoy Super a lot, like I wasn't like super pumped into it. I do acknowledge that, like I said earlier, I technically sat down and rewatched the whole thing when I was over in California. Like we literally sat down and watched through the whole thing again from Z all the way through GT. So obviously I love it because I'm keep watching it. Like there's all these points that come up and it's like, oh yeah, this is that part. Oh yeah, it's time for this movie. And you go into this movie and it's like, holy crap, the animation and everything like that. Like I was pointing out when Super came out, or Superhero came out, and I was talking about like the animation and stuff like that. There was some incredible animation done for those original works, like just the sheer like I guess like brightness that would come from whenever he used a Kamehameha, and it, like everything around it brightens up and everything around it gets flashed out. It's just it was some incredible fight scenes that when we were watching through it again, I'm like, holy crap, it's this fight. And holy crap, this is the part where this happens. And it's like suddenly out of nowhere, I was, a young kid again, watching it for the first time. It's like I'm reliving, again, technically on a crappy VHS recording, a timed recording, and probably recording over family videos. Sorry, Mom. But that was like what we were pumped for every single week. Again, I don't think, I agree. I don't think I ever fell out of love with it, but at the same time, it was just, it felt like it disappeared for so long. And I guess, that's what, 15 years? That's a long time. Yep. So again, no crap, it felt like you fell out of love with it. It disappeared for a while. But when it came back, there was a sense that I rediscovered it. Like it's here again. I'm like, wow, we're going in some weird crazy God powers time. Suddenly I know we're God power time. Okay, so that's how we're gonna one up ourselves. We're gonna suddenly just give them the power of the gods. Where are we going next? Okay, now we're gonna collect Earth-sized Dragon Balls. Okay, cool. Let's do this. So I guess since we're doing that now, Akira Toriyama is so amazing. They would actually have to get the Universal Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can bring them back. Because she replied to one of those posts. He's like, "Yep, sorry, we got to get those Universal ones. Time to get in the spaceship, ready to go, dude." So cute. I like those posts. I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep bringing those up. I love that kind of stuff. It's just, it's again a tribute. Anyway,
I think it's one of those that why it matters is it helps to, kind of do that hat tip of we know, because it would be one thing for like you were talking about the people on the news
club handshake. Dude.
Yeah, it's different when the newscaster says Vegeta, whereas these guys are going hat tip. I actually know this property. I'm not just
throwing voice.
I'm not blowing smoke at you, trying to pretend like I'm actually what I have to say actually is in the know. It actually is in the know. This is how I can prove it. So I mean, that to me, it's. I take that a little bit more serious than Vegeta.
Vegeta. You're gonna make me have to drop like a soundbite here. You're gonna say it. Vegeta. If I had to choose between Goku and Vegeta, I'm gonna go with Goku because that name sounds cooler. At least he admitted, like, I have no clue what this is. Well, obviously, because you said Vegeta.
Vegeta.
I thought you were about to say VeggieTales. If I had to choose between Goku and VeggieTales, I'm like, oh crap, we're doing one of those like, would Goku beat this person? Now we're arguing, can he beat VeggieTales? Really, dude? I'm tired of the Goku versus blah blah. Every single time you see a character do something cool, Goku could beat him though. Again, keep up the good work, man. Spreading the good name. Anyways, anything else? Anything else? I'm actually surprised it went this long, but again, I would technically attribute that to all the cool quotes, which I'll admit, originally I just wanted to read some of the responses, just kind of show, like, I wanted to read the quotes from different creators because I wanted to show to people and listeners that how much this dude impacted. And it was the best way to show how much he impacted the world of entertainment is from the words of the people that are creating the biggest franchises, at least in the anime manga sphere. But yes, it ended up kind of being a good way of doing that sort of filled in that gap to express that, and it turned out to be a lot more impactful than I thought it would be. So yeah, anything else? No. Again, a deepest condolences to everybody that was impacted by this, whether it be fans or those directly involved with him, his life, his family, all the people that helped, the animators that brought his stuff to life, the creators that were inspired by him that still trek on despite him, basically passing on the baton to them to carry on to the future. Definitely a sad, tragic loss in the world of anime. And even at this point, I'm still trying to connect it. Yeah, I was telling somebody that I'm the type that it takes a while, but again, like we mentioned before, it's so different, but it's still a thing. Like I can't claim that I mourn his loss like a direct relative, but I can't deny what his work. I'll say it just like they said it. I don't know that this Otaku Spirit would be here if it weren't for him. Would I have gotten so invested in anime as much as I did if it weren't for him? I don't think so. Because for the longest time, all I was watching was Dragon Ball. It kept my love for anime alive for a long time. Like, we watched Sailor Moon and stuff like that, but I don't think
I was trying to imagine, because you go, in particular with our path, because thinking back on it, I immediately discount a lot of the early stuff. Like I said, Goleon, which for us, I was the
weird
Robotech
Macross thing,
Robotech or something.
That weird
like that.
Macross, Frankenstein.
Yeah. And then you go into kind of where
Harmony Gold thing.
Our stuff kind of starts with like Tenchi, Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon was more impactful to me than probably to you, but when you brought up Tenchi and then that stuff, Dragon Ball Z was kind of when we were separated, when I was in the army, and so I kind of picked up on Dragon Ball Z here and there. I do know that I grabbed, when I was going through the wild, buy a whole bunch of anime DVDs, I think I picked up Dragon Ball. So yeah, I was aware of Dragon Ball Z. So it's kind of this weird place of, if I was to take that out, because we're effectively kind of theory crafting the idea of, would our path be the same without Dragon Ball Z? And yes, in a way, it probably would have changed. I think we probably would have been more centered on more gaming, because you're taking out.
Well, see, it's
one of the most active shonens, one of the ones that kind of hooks people the most.
That was my main point. It's not so much that it was my entire origin story of watching anime, because yes, there was other stuff that, me personally, I didn't know it was anime. I didn't know what that weird thing, Frankenstein of Macross thing was.
That was more my time before you were really catching on to cartoons.
But that's what I mean. Like,
we had the Marios.
What is Speed Racer?
We had Mario.
My whole point is, back then with like things like that, and Speed Racer was like, I don't know what this is. I didn't know it was anime. Again, it wasn't until I was watching Tenchi Muyo and stuff with my friend that suddenly it's like, oh, that's quote unquote anime. That's Japanese. Because suddenly I'm watching this stuff and it's in Japanese. But yes, my whole point, what I was saying earlier, is, according to this, Dragon Ball Z didn't hit television in the United States until 1996. My whole point there is not so much that I would never have found anime without Dragon Ball, because I knew what anime was before Dragon Ball. Z, again, like I said, I didn't watch the original Ball until later on. It's more the fact that from 96 onward, it's something that grabbed onto me, and I kept watching it as I went along, even though I wasn't regularly watching anime. Because, yeah, for sure, I think in the turn of the century, going into 2000 and whatnot, I moved away from my friend that was deep in this anime, and I didn't really have that avenue to go to him, who had plenty of imports to check out, to really keep getting anime. But that Dragon Ball was still that thing that was holding on to me that I kept watching. So I think it's not so much it helped me discover anime, and it's the reason why I'm in anime, because I knew what it was already into it. I think its spirit, and because it was running for so long, it kept me in anime. And on into the point where, yeah, started it was going on into the torrent days, and on past that, and we're downloading tons of anime, and gotta get that Dragon Ball too. Oh yeah, now time to check. And again, now it's time to check out the origin story. Download Dragon Ball. Suddenly I'm looking at all of the Dragon Ball, because now I can download it, torrent it, and find all these subtitles of all these different versions of it. And now I can consume whichever one I want, rather than waiting for whichever one they decide to put on television.
I remember downloading some of the, in particular, the Brawly stuff, and seeing the most god-awful bit rate, just because that was the only one I could find, and it looked all grainy and horrible, but at least I was watching it.
At least you were watching it. Yeah, that was like it was one point where it was like, okay, apparently it was a bunch of movies. And it was hard to find movies of anime back then. So especially with Dragon Ball, it was like, holy crap, there's all these movies. Now suddenly I'm having to download all the movies, and I have to figure out where's this one fit in the whole thing. I gotta watch all these movies. But yeah, at some point, it would have taken long, I guess, for them to run out of episodes from 96 until, because I know I watched the entire original run, all the way through all the episodes, and they would have restarted. but I'm curious about what point that would have ended. Would have ended around 2000 or something like that, because then that was that gap. And then suddenly, like, yeah, life happened. Is the main reason why I kind of got out of anime for that brief time between 2002-ish till when we ever started the actual podcast proper, 2012 or something like that.
No, it would have been more along the road of 2004, kind of in this weird flux area where we were kind of dabbling in it, but more focused on gaming.
Yeah, I got super into games, yeah.
And then round about 2007, we were doing timeless gaming, and then eventually we were getting kind of more heavy. I was going more heavy into anime, you were going more heavy into games, and then we kind of merged together into Otaku Spirit at around 2012 or so.
Yeah, around there, yeah. So yeah, my whole point and all that's a long route to go into saying that it didn't introduce me to anime. Dragon Ball isn't the reason I got into anime. But it's probably a damn good reason why it never left me.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. It was an IV implanted in my arm as I was kind of drifting away from it because it was in that area of life where things are changing a lot. I'm literally becoming an adult. Things are changing. I gotta keep up on this and that. And it just kind of held on to me during that time. So that's what I'll say. And Oda said it better than me. So just take Oda's words. I loved Oda's quote. I love that. I need to repost that. I can probably find his original post of it, but it's good stuff though. But yeah, definitely hope you guys enjoyed listening to us reminisce about Dragon Ball. It's funny because we never really actually talked about Dragon Ball itself. It's just, again, it was more about Akira Toriyama, but Dragon Ball itself and Akira Toriyama, Dr. Slump, our gaming in encounters with his stuff, which I thought was one of those things where, like, even like now when that whole announcement came, I was like, oh gosh, Dragon Ball. Like, oh yeah, that's right, Dragon Quest. Oh yeah, Chrono Trigger. It's just so many places that he touched, and I loved every single bit of it. So wanted to get on here, and we were supposed to do our preview for next season, but I'm like, I want to talk about Akira Toriyama.
It's all right, Andrew. We all know the truth. The real reason we love Dragon Ball Z is Bulma, Ugh. Android 17, and Videl.
Yeah. No Bulma, though. I can't Bulma no more.
You can't Bulma no more?
No.
Why not?
Somebody ruined it.
You're going to have to tell me later.
The voice actress. I'm happy saying I'm fine saying it. The voice actress ruined it. I don't
care about the voice actress. I care about Bulma.
Her herself. Akira Toriyama's Bulma. Yeah, great. Akira Toriyama. No, truth be told, it's just like Chi-Chi. Like, it's so sad because it just like they become like the fuddy-duddies. At some point in Dragon Ball Z, they become the fuddy-duddies.
Chi-Chi was great at the beginning.
Yeah, she was. Because she's fun. Like, she's just like overbearing and violent. She's the only one that can beat Goku.
Yep.
Like, whenever somebody says, oh my gosh, can they beat Goku? I say, no, Chi-Chi can.
Chi-Chi can.
Chi-Chi can. Somebody I made that joke to somebody at some point. They showed me a picture of SpongeBob kicking Goku, and they said they post that every time. And now I got to go back to them and say, you should say that Chi-Chi.
Yep.
Chi-Chi wins in the end. Like, in the end, like when he's off trying to destroy the entire universe because he just wants to fight somebody, he literally wagers the entire universe just because he wants to fight. In the end, the one that drags him back home,
I just got
Chi-Chi.
I just got this kind of like I was making the joke of the Super Saiyan bargain sale. Another one of those. What, woman?
No, I think
Vegeta is great. All of my greatest quotes are Vegeta's.
I mean, for a long time there, Trunks was my favorite character. But in the end, like, character-wise, Vegeta has always been the best character. Like,
he is awesome.
his best character of all time was Vegeta. That's kind of why I liked actually reading his comment about this. But I couldn't... And again, I was a little bit unsure about going into Super and its return, the movies and everything like that. But nothing was more entertaining to me is to come back to the franchise and immediately see Vegeta acting like... what's his name? Beerus? him cowering in front of Beerus and literally being afraid of ticking off Beerus.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get everybody to chill, and Bulma's mad because it's her birthday party. And Beerus is eating all the food, and
that is
and
so
making
Akira
Boo angry.
Toriyama though. That's what I loved about it when it was coming back, and that moment of Vegeta just going nuts over the entire thing, and it's like, this is great.
And he's got like some Hawaiian t-shirt on. He's got this Hawaiian t-shirt on. He's a dad now. And yeah, literally Bulma gets mad because it's her birthday party, and she like literally starts yelling at Beerus, and he's like, woman, stop. He's literally gonna blow up the world, if not the universe. Don't make him mad. And yeah, you have Boo there getting mad because he's taking his food. Yeah, and Hercule's trying to keep Boo in check, and it's like every 2 seconds, Hercule has to be the one to show up and take all the credit. It does, like, this ongoing joke they have with him. Like, there's so many memories of the series that just, again, this is getting back into the early discussion. This idea of like, it's not that I knew him personally. It's just that I know where I was sitting watching every one of these scenes, just sitting in front of the television watching that scene, or I was over here with his friend in that scene, or I was over with, in California with our other brother and their house watching GT again, or something like that. Those memories are what just kind of feels it. And just so many classic moments of the series that you just love. Like the driving test episode. I think they cut that from Kai. I think somebody told me that they cut that episode from Kai.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
It's literally one of the best episodes. Like, there was like these little side episodes that were outside of like the usual like fight scenes, or oh my gosh, here's the next scene of this, that were just so classic. My favorite arc is probably, I think it was the arc where Vegeta first shows up. When him and Nappa first show up, that arc was either my favorite. I wasn't a huge fan of Cell Saga. Boo was okay, but I want to say that segment when the Saiyans first showed up, I think that was my favorite segment.
I think the Boo saga is probably the best point of showing Vegeta for who he is.
Oh yeah.
Now my particular favorite is always going to be, like I said earlier, is I want to go back and look into the kind of Dragon Ball series that encapsulates the Red Ribbon and the androids, because my particular favorite is the Cell Saga, which includes the androids. I really did like that particular segment. But yeah, I agree with you. The Majin Buu particular part is one of my favorites, mostly because of the digging into Vegeta and who he is. Is he really the bad guy, or is he just a rival of Goku's?
Yeah. Anyways, we're wrapping up, right?
We got your little bit of speaking on the actual show, Dragon Ball. There you go.
We're supposed to wrap up, right? We're supposed to wrap up. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this run through of memory lane for us. It's just a gush fest for us, and again, greatly appreciate all of his work, and we'll forever enjoy it. I'm probably tonight gonna Google to find out if I can buy the Dragon Ball series. Probably not, but we'll see. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. And again, as usual, we're at otakuspirit.com. That's where all of our links are, social media links, ways to get a hold of us, our Discord, ways to support us. Greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel and everything that we do here. And yeah, until the next time, y'all take care.
Os.